What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we get to talk about The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. And you know what? I want to honestly give some props to Naughty Dog, to PlayStation, because this is how you do it. And this comes from somebody that is very split on The Last of Us Part 2, because I think what you can do here is you can acknowledge the, achievements of this is how you do a remastered game, what they're including, the way they're doing the pricing. Thank the freaking Lord, the decisions that they managed to do here. This is how you do it. And I think you can have that opinion regardless of how you feel about the game. Because I was very split on the game. We talked about this when the game came out. I'm not a fan of the major decisions that happened, but I do think there's a really good game there, kind of in different ways than maybe other people would say. That's where I've been. But I think they just did an outrageously good job. So let's kind of go through some of the details. This is something that I'm getting just simply because of the new stuff. Not even necessarily to replay it, but the roguelike mode that they're adding to it. Oh my God. I want to start there, actually, because I think this is very much a part of, or it was a part of what the multiplayer, the Last of Us multiplayer, was going to be, is going to be. I feel like other people are going to say this, but I haven't seen it out there yet. I'm not claiming it's the only time you're going to hear it, though. But something about it, just the way of swapping characters, and they're going to have their own kind of systems of how they work, and you're going to be able to customize your run. And you see in the trailer, you'll be facing kind of bosses, and you'll be facing enemies, and it'll be more head-on combat, and then it'll also be more stealth combat. It's really cool. And when they first announced this thing, I didn't even see that part on it. And it's even without that, honestly, I think this is pretty good. Even those cut levels, and they even admit, right? They're not full on things. Don't expect it to be this fully AAA, up to the rest of the standards of The Last of Us Part 2. I think that's pretty darn cool. Give us some of that stuff, and you see it a little bit in the trailer. Even if it's not fully developed, that's still fine. The commentary with Neil and Ashley and all them, that is pretty cool as well. You would kind of expect something like that, although that doesn't happen with every remaster, so that's an excellent thing. Obviously, you have the fidelities and, the visual improvements and the game performance, in and of itself. And then you also have how they're doing it price-wise, that you get the upgrade for $10. Thank you, Lord Jesus, truly, because I will say this. I feel like they took Part 1's remake to heart. And, you can criticize me all you want. I still think very unnecessary. And also, they just handled that so poorly. On top of, when it came out, specifically for PC, the thing was terrible, performance-wise across the board. They did a really good remake, but in this case of, did you need it and full price and all that jazz, I think they probably took some of that to heart and said, all right, we're going to do it right. Because I would argue you're getting more in a remaster here than most remasters on the planet. I'm going to say that. I really believe that. Because you're getting the game with all of its graphical and performance improvements, but you're also getting new outfits, and you're also getting cut levels, which how often does that happen? You're getting commentary over the whole thing, which sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen. And then you're getting literally an entire, not multiplayer mode, but you're getting something that you could very much imagine is kind of a prototype for what could become, depending on what happens. And all of this happens in January 19th. I think the Alone in the Dark remake still comes out before then, but now The Last of Us Remastered Last of Us Part 2 Remastered kind of kicks off 2024 with Infinite Wealth and Persona 3 and Suicide Squad and Final Fantasy and Helldivers 2. There's a lot coming out mid-January to mid-March. And this almost becomes now, besides Alone in the Dark, it would become the first game. So, again, I don't know. I don't know what people are going to call me in the comments or what people would think of it, but I really want to give them praise. I am genuinely excited. I'm also genuinely kind of shocked because we've heard this, right? We've heard this rumored remaster project before, and just the taste in our mouths with what they even did with Horizon and kind of lying, right, in terms of how you do the upgrade path, and then they had to take it back because people freaked out online, rightfully so, and then they fixed it, and then The Last of Us remake was just such a split down the middle, and The Last of Us Part 2 was a split down the middle kind of thing, right? But again, I think regardless of how you feel about the game itself, we should at the very least praise this as a remaster, because you cannot like the story or like what happens in it, but you can say, okay, if I had a choice between this or a different kind of remaster, I'd want this. If I had the choice between this, something that, again, when you just say it out loud, Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, well, does it need it? No, not really. But would I take this over, say, what they just did with The Last of Us 1 remake? 1,000 out of 1,000 times I would take this, because it's about, I would say, the amount of stuff you put into it. It's about how you communicate it with your audience, your consumers. In this case, the whole upgrading path, I think, is it's a wise move. It's something that should happen kind of across the board. And, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. This is a really good move. So I'm really happy about this. And while I wasn't ready to, I was going to replay Part 2 5 years after the game came out. So it's going to be 2025 is when I replayed it. I still might do that because I just kind of feel in my heart that's the right move to make. But I will definitely be playing this at the very least for that roguelike mode. I'll just play that because that looks really fun. And I think the combat and the core kind of gameplay of hiding and kind of picking your spots, I think that's a really elite level thing that's in Part 2. So I would absolutely like to see it expanded upon, and that's what they're doing for this mode. So congrats. Not honestly, take a bow, because this is how you do it. Thank God, and finally, right? Because it could have gone the other way, and it could have been so much worse. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.